So you as the viewer, you might be wondering how I'm not some shriveled up green bean, as a vegan. But as you can see here, I'm quite well built. And not only that, but I've also been able to put on muscle, weight, and strength, right? As compared to, let's say, a picture of me from a couple months ago, maybe around the summer, and me now, now in the winter. I'll be showing you guys foods that I continuously include into my diet to gain muscle and strength. But I won't be detailing every single bit of food that I eat, or how I eat, or whatever the case may be. I do have a video on what I eat in a day that I have posted up earlier. And I'm also gonna show you guys, or tell you guys that I don't really track anything, nor do I take any protein powders. So let's just get right into it, starting off with protein. So where do I get my protein? This can be kind of a valid question, as we've kind of been led to believe that meat is like where we can get protein. It's the only place we can get high quality protein, or any protein at all. And we might even assume that plants have zero protein, or that we have to eat large quantities of plant foods to get the same amount of protein. But this is not true at all, as studies have shown that most vegan and vegetarians end up exceeding their protein needs on a day-to-day basis. And they do this by eating a various amount of plant foods. So that's why it's always important to include many different plant foods. Don't just rely on, same 3 foods or something like that, right? Whenever I've told people that I'm vegan, or the question comes up, whatever, and then I'm like, oh, I'm vegan, blah blah blah. And really, like, what do you do for protein? Do you take protein powders? Do you use mock meats, whatever? And I just say I eat beans, and that's basically my primary source of protein. So, and by beans, I mean specifically like legumes. So that would be beans and lentils. I rely mostly on, I'd say, chickpeas, black beans, tofu, which is from the soybean, and lentils, mostly red lentils. These foods do have some of the highest protein profiles among plant foods, and they're an incredibly cheap source of protein. Basically, getting like a 1 pound of red lentils is like $2.14 or something like that at Walmart. And then getting, I'd say, like a pound of chickpeas is like $1.50, and black beans is like $1.40. So, you can get a good volume amount of food without having to break the bank, right? You can get the proper nutrition you need to build strength and muscle without having to kill a bunch of chickens basically, or eat like a bunch of eggs. I love eating tofu personally. I love it. Tofu is very versatile. You can pan fry it, air fry it. You can put it in stews or soups or something like that. You can make scrambles out of it. It's just such a versatile way of food, and you can manipulate it and have it taste however you want it to, without having to worry about eating raw meat and getting sick or something like that, right? I'd also like to add that eating firm tofu over, let's say, silken or soft tofu, firm tofu is going to have a lot more protein and a lot more calories in it because it's more dense, due to it having less water content. So I mostly rely on, more specifically, firm tofu over, let's say, soft tofu. And the more firm it is, the more protein it's gonna have. So let's say there's extra firm, and then there's super firm, right? Super firm is gonna have the most amount of protein. Red lentils are also really great, as when you, they don't have to be soaked like how you might have to soak black beans and chickpeas and other beans. You just kind of put them in the pot, you kind of let them boil for maybe 10 to 20 minutes, and they kind of become very soft and mush, right? So you can kind of make sauces or curries out of that, and it doesn't take that long to cook at all. And I love making different types of stews and curries and adding vegetables in there, and it's really good. Again, cheap, very affordable, and very, very nutritious, right? Has a bunch of other nutrients in there along with the higher protein profile. When it comes to carbs, of course, like beans, they also have carbs in them, but they're gonna have more protein in them. But when it comes to more carby foods, I guess, I rely on potatoes, quinoa, brown rice, and whole wheat bread, right? So with potatoes are probably one of the more starchy, more carby vegetables out there. I also rely on sweet potatoes a lot more because, for one, they just taste better because they're sweet, right? You don't have to do anything to them to make them sweet. I don't even have to put salt on them. I don't even have to cook them in oil. I just cut up some sweet potatoes, put them in the air fryer, and then eat them like that, right? And they're also going to be more nutritious because you're going to have better vitamin A absorption because of something called beta carotene, right? And that's basically something that's really responsible for a lot of colors that's within food, especially like more like the orange colors, like how sweet potatoes are orange. And of course, this is going to help with your skin as well, or having like more brighter and clearer skin. But that's besides the point. These foods being very dense foods, very filling, taking a while, for you to feel hungry until the next meal. These foods are going to allow for you to kind of like put on some of that weight. So eating maybe like 1 to 2 potatoes a day, or like 1 large potato a day, it's going to be very filling, and it's going to allow for you, to put on that mass you're looking for, that plant mass. Earlier I mentioned quinoa and brown rice. These are whole grains, so I'm not really eating white rice. I'm not really relying on white rice because it's not a whole grain. And with it not being a whole grain, it doesn't have any fiber and it doesn't have a lot of other nutrients in it. So it just kind of becomes like these calories that you consume. Sure, like maybe if you're purely focused on wanting to gain weight, but if you're also focused on other health aspects and making sure that you get proper nutrition, then you might want to rely on whole grains like brown rice and quinoa. I would say quinoa is maybe better in my opinion because, not in my opinion, this is like just factual evidence. It has more nutrition in it and also has more protein than brown rice. And yes, quinoa and brown rice both have protein in it because they're complete carbs, right? They're unrefined, they're unprocessed, they're whole grains. And with that, they're gonna have more nutrition in it, and they're gonna have more amino acids, which help make up the protein within these foods. But quinoa has a more complete amino acid profile, which allows it to have more protein than, white rice or brown rice. Now, when it comes to fruits and veggies, these are main staples in my diet. These should be main staples in anybody's diet. I don't care who you are. Everybody should be eating fruits and vegetables. Like it does not matter. I include like fruits and vegetables into my diet as they are great sources of energy, and I feel like they fuel my diet, not my diet, but my workouts and just my day-to-day activities. And they're of course gonna have a lot of different vitamins and minerals in them that allow for me to make sure I'm meeting my daily nutritional needs. So I would say I really rely mostly on like kale. When it comes to vegetables, kale, spinach, onions, bell peppers or any type of peppers. What else? Freaking mushrooms. Yeah, I think that might be about it. Broccoli, that's one other thing. And then when it comes to fruits, anything that I like, bananas, oranges, apples, mangoes, watermelon, what else? Berries. I very much like blueberries. I have them every morning for breakfast. And so, yeah, like I said earlier, these are going to be great for basically giving you energy, right? And then they're also going to be great for getting a lot of vitamins and other types of nutrients that you do need that you can't get out of a lot of other foods. Fruits and vegetables are also very high in antioxidants along with other plant foods. And when it comes to antioxidants and exercise, they're going to be great for a lot quicker recovery due to having less fatigue and less muscle soreness. So when you're bulking and you're eating a lot more food, consuming more energy, you're going to want to work out a lot harder. And of course, since you're working your muscles a lot harder, you want them to recover quicker because the sooner you can train, the better, right? So it's very important to include a lot more fruits and vegetables within your diet. You can also have avocados, add avocados into there, which I think will be very beneficial, especially for bulking. They're gonna have a lot more fats in them. And again, when it comes to fats, plant fats are not really bad, right? Just because you eat fat doesn't mean you're gonna gain fat. It's just if you eat more calories, you're gonna gain more weight. That's how it works. And when it comes to avocados, they're a lot more dense than other fruits. Most fruits are very watery and they're a lot more dense, so they're gonna be a lot more filling. So, you're gonna be able to have extra calories and gain a bit more weight as well. Of course, especially if you're trying to bulk up. And speaking of avocados, when it comes to more dietary fat, I personally rely on nuts and seeds. So I would say I use flax seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts, peanuts, or peanut butter specifically. But my main staples are walnuts, peanut butter, and flax seeds. These are also good sources of omegas, which are good for brain and hormone health. And then, of course, with them being fats, you get that more satiating, that more filling type of food. So that way, of course, I can gain weight, right? I like to put, I like to have like peanut butter sandwiches in my like fruit bowl or whatever. I put peanut butter in there, and I also have that with whole wheat bread or whole grain bread. And they can also be a good source of protein as well. Peanut butter has a good amount of protein in it. Of course, maybe not as much as like, let's say, eating like tofu or lentils. But of course, like, hey, why not have the extra protein, right? And with it being plant-based protein, it's not gonna come with all the negative effects of having, let's say, certain animal proteins or most animal proteins. Like I stated earlier in the video, I do not track any calories, or I don't track anything. And I don't feel like, I would say I've never really felt bad or anything unless I was eating like a really restrictive diet or something like that. I feel pretty great, especially as a vegan. And yeah, I'm not tracking anything. I'm not tracking protein. I've obviously been able to gain weight compared to just a couple months ago, and I'm the strongest I've ever been. So when it comes to, let's say, training, the most important thing is like, it's not about tracking your, am I getting enough protein, carbs, and fats into my diet? It's more about the way you train, and if you're training consistently enough. And of course, if you want to gain weight, you want to basically have enough food volume, right? You want to be eating maybe at least 3 meals a day, and maybe with some type of snacks in between in the form of fruit, or maybe you could have a smoothie in between, either one of your meals and stuff like that. And if you feel like, maybe you're not getting enough protein, you can get a plant-based protein powder like pea protein or something like that. So that way it's like, that's something that you can just add to maybe your breakfast, or something that you add to a smoothie or a drink. So that way, you might feel like you could be getting all your bases covered. But obviously, maybe just take my word for it, right? I'm telling you that I haven't taken or really used any protein powders, and I've been able to do pretty fine when it comes to gaining weight, strength, and muscle without, of course, tracking anything, and without, of course, having to supplement much like of my protein needs, right? But there are some things I do supplement, like I do take a B12 supplementation, and I also take a D3. But D3 is like, for sun, but it's cold out here. Who wants to be outside when it's super cold, right? And yeah, those are probably basic things that anybody should be taking on any type of diet. Meatless muscle.